Hey, this is Mary Mauser from Cobra Kai, and you're listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Mary, welcome to the cave.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you? What's new with you?
I'm pretty good. I'm getting excited. We're getting closer and closer to time, so I'm hardly sleeping at this point.
So, you've been busy with your career. You know, you've done several guest roles on TV shows and, of course, Cobra Kai, which everybody's excited about. But, well, we'll definitely talk about Cobra Kai. So let's tell the listeners a little bit about where are you from?
I'm actually originally from Arkansas, of all places, I guess.
So,
hello?
Yep.
Okay. For a second, I was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and happened into acting kind of through my mom's best friend, who's like a family friend. She was like, coming to visit in Pennsylvania. They're doing this big casting call. Like, you should totally come and see what acting's like. And my mom was like, you guys want to go do it? And we were like, yeah, sure. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And then I went into the audition and ended up coming out with a pink slip of paper, which was apparently a big deal. I didn't know. I was 5. And they said I got a call back. I ended up being the photo double in the movie Signs.
Okay.
And
with Mel Gibson, right?
Yes, yeah, it was. And that was super, super fun for me because I got to see all the special effects stuff, and I loved the whole experience. And my parents were willing to be patient enough to let me give it a try, and I think they thought I would grow out of it. And here I am, 18 years later.
So how was it growing up in Arkansas?
I mean, it's definitely completely different from California.
Yeah.
Every time I go back, I think I just remember this was what normal life was like. Now normal life is like, oh, I'm bored, I'll go to Disneyland. But like normal life before was like, oh, I'm bored, I'll go to Walmart. So definitely like a big change. But I actually got to go back recently and actually see Ralph Macchio was grand marshaling this parade in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And he was like, oh, it's in your neck of the woods, you should come visit. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And I thought he believed me, but I guess he didn't believe me because, the day I texted him, I was like, okay, I'm here. Where should I meet you? He was like, what? You're actually here? So,
wow.
I got to go back and visit, and I showed my boyfriend around my hometown and everything. It was fun.
Yeah. So, okay, so you grew up in Arkansas. What were you into as a kid growing up? I know you mentioned acting, but what else did you like doing? I
loved art. I still do love to read. That was a big one. I just would at the time, when I was young, it was American Girl books. I read every single different doll and every book about her, through history. And then I got really involved in other reading I wanted to do. I took horseback riding and I loved that. I feel like that was kind of all my time I had. I loved school though. I was a total nerd and still am. So I really loved school time.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. So you did Signs at 5 years old. What made you say, okay, this is what I want to do and we'll push you to the next level?
I don't know if there was a specific thing that I can pinpoint. I remember things like craft service had these crunch bars, little mini sized crunch bars, and I didn't have to wait for Halloween. So that was exciting. And I remember things Joaquin Phoenix taught me how to do this little hand clap thing, and I think I thought that was really cool. And there were just all these things where I was just to me it was getting to play house and play pretend, but I was getting to do it all day and other people were joining in on the game, and it was just super fun. And at the time, that's all it was. I had no idea that money was involved. I had no idea about the auditioning process.
Yeah.
It was all just fun, and then I guess over the next few years, as my mom and dad let me keep trying it and let me keep auditioning and stuff like that, I went through all kinds of ups and downs. I got plenty of rejections, which I feel is in some ways harder and in some ways easier as a kid. In some ways it's wait, what did I do wrong? And you just don't understand that there are many more factors than that. And then in some ways it's also easy because I was like, oh, it's like just another audition. Like, you know, that's to me was almost equivalent to a job itself. So it was like, okay, I'll go do this audition. And then like, you know, that was fun. I got to be that character. I'll go do something else now.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of just like it as a kid, it was just like this big game of pretend. And then as I got older, it became more and more of like this cathartic, like therapeutic, like emotional experience. And then dealing with like my teenage years and acting at the same time was like, it gave me this outlet. And now even now, I think that's a big part of it for me is it's like this creative outlet in addition to being this like personal outlet where I get to like tell all these stories that like maybe I have some connection to, or maybe I know someone who dealt with something like that. And I think that like that aspect means a lot to me.
Yeah. Did you, while you were going through all this, were you taking acting classes at the same time?
I've taken acting classes here and there. I actually met one of my best friends through an acting class, but I've kind of like just dabbled in different things, but I feel like I've never been in like a consistent acting class the whole way through. I mean, like I did, you know, a couple of acting classes when I was young that taught you how to audition. I did like acting classes on commercials. And then as I got older, I did acting classes on improv, which I still think I'm horrible at. But I've never been in kind of like a long-term acting class. And I think that's just because like, you know, to me, I felt like I learn really well when I'm actually in the environment. But I feel like, you know, the acting classes are definitely a huge, important aspect to it. I just feel like I learn best when I'm in that environment and interacting with other people, like, in that moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's also, like you said, it's a good way to learn because, like, when you don't get, you know, you go out, you get your audition, and if you don't get it, you're like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to get the next one.
Yeah, definitely. It was a lesson my parents helped me learn was just kind of like, you know, picking yourself back up, moving on to the next one, and keeping in mind like how many factors go into not booking an audition. It's like, oh, well, they already cast a mom, and the mom has like blonde hair, so they need like a kid with blonde hair. Or, oh, they cast a boy, and he's much older, so they need an older girl to go with that. And like back and forth, you know, throughout like all the years of my life, like all the different aspects kind of that go into casting, and it kind of helps me to remember like, you know, it's not like you just did a bad job. Some of them, I'm sure, I just did a really bad job. I mean, it happens, but
yeah.
Like, it also helps, I think, to keep that perspective of like, okay, if it's not this one, it's the next one. And my mom always had an attitude of like everything happens the way it's meant to happen, and if it's not this one, there's a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, say you know last week you went, you had an audition and you didn't do well. You're like, you know what? Oh well, like you said, I'm getting the next one. You just forget about last week and just, you know, focus on the next one.
Definitely.
So, out of all like the TV things you've done, what has been your favorite show other than Cobra Kai, of course? What has been like a show that you've been on that you've enjoyed doing?
I mean, one of the most like incredible and like crazy experiences of my life was I was 12, I think, and I did a show called Life is Wild. It was the first year that the CW network existed, and we did a whole season shot in South Africa. So we got to live in South Africa for almost a whole year. And that was a crazy, incredible experience. I had a pet monkey. I went to school there. I don't remember any Afrikaans, but I think do like one Zulu greeting. But other than that, I mean, it was just like this, it was an insane experience to have that young, and my whole family of 5 got to move there. They were like, you can have 2 first-class tickets or 5 coach. And we took the 5 coach, and the whole family moved to Africa for the year. And that was, it was the just like crazy, wildest experience. So that one, you know, overall was amazing. I was the voice of Elias when I was little, and that one meant a lot to me. That was like just like acting-wise was so much fun because I got to just go and be crazy and just be as loud as I wanted to and talk as fast as I wanted to, and all of it worked perfectly for that. And then I was on a show called Body of Proof for a few years, which definitely meant just an incredible amount to me. The people that I worked with on that show were so incredible, and like I feel so lucky to have spent some of my like young teenage like formative years being around these really inspiring people and actors and creators, and it just made me really want to work hard to be like that when I grew up, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Well, and you won an award for doing the voiceover, right?
I did, yeah, I
How
did.
was that?
I don't even think I like fully understood what was happening. I was just like, oh, cool, people like it, but like did not realize kind of like what was going on until I'm like walking up on a stage or whatever. Like it was a really cool experience, definitely. But I think again to me, like Eloise just mostly represented like I loved New York. I loved living in New York when I did for a few years. So like Eloise was like me getting to just live out my like fantasy about living in the Plaza Hotel and all the craziness you could get up to.
Yeah, that's great. And I read on, I did my research and I read online too. You did two of my favorite shows, Scrubs and King of Queens. How was that? How were those shows?
Those were two of the first things I actually did when I came to California. So Scrubs, I don't think I had a single line. I might have had maybe said like a couple words, but I was in a park and like making funny faces, and like that was the whole thing. To me, like my older brother was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna be on Scrubs," but I was like, "Oh, cool! Like
Yeah.
I get to go and play in a park and get paid to do it." Like to me, it was just like, but it was a really cool experience. Looking back on it now too is kind of like a whoa. Like I wish somebody had told me that was like a really cool show to be on. And then King of Queens, the biggest memory I have from filming that is I got stung by a bee on set.
Oh my
and
God.
I got rushed away. And and I remember I was reading Nancy Drew at that age, and I was like, that was my biggest memory. And then just like, I got to play this like really annoying kid, and I hardly ever got to play annoying people. So I was super excited to play somebody really annoying.
Wait, you said you got rushed out of there. Are you allergic to bees?
We didn't know. My
Okay.
dad is, and
Okay.
so it did sting really bad, and I obviously am a kid, so I'm going to be like wailing in pain, even though it's like, adults would be like, okay, it's a little annoying, but like get over it. Me being like 8 years old, I was like, I'm dying. So I got like, they rushed me away, and it's also part of like protocol. So like they full on had like security, like police came in there and took a detailed description, because you're on set, it's a work issue, like whatever. So they came in and they did like this full-on interview, and they're like, so what happened? And I'm like, there was a bee, and it scared me, and then it stung me. Like I was 8 years old, I had no idea what was going on.
That's great. So now you're Samantha Larusso on Cobra Kai. How has your life changed in a year, I guess?
It's definitely crazy. I don't know that I fully understood what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
Like I've said this before, my boyfriend's a huge Karate Kid fan. I had never seen the movies, so he tried not to freak me out when I got the initial audition and like tell me how big of a deal it was. And I kept saying like, we can talk about this, when I find out I don't book it, then we can talk about it. But then I kept going further and further in the process, and by the time I finally booked it, he was like, okay, we have to sit down and watch it right now. And we binge watched the whole next day. We watched the Karate Kid, just like saga, and it was definitely like really cool and very like, honestly, it was terrifying, but like incredible. And I was like, I connected with so many of the different characters in the story, and I was like, I can't believe I'm going to be a part of this. And then we went and shot the first season, and it was like this happy little bubble we all lived in, where it was like, oh, we're creating something really cool, and this is very special, and we're having such a great time doing it. And I got along with everybody, and it was just like the coolest experience. And then season 1 came out, and it was kind of like, I don't know that I fully understood until that moment what I had gotten myself into. And then the fan response was insane. And it was just like, even now, like I have my own YouTube channel that I started for fun, just to like have something to do in my off time, and almost every comment is like, saw the new trailer for Cobra Kai, like so cool. And I think that's insane that many people are willing to see what I'm doing, just like in my living room on a daily basis, like that they care because they're so excited about the show. Like, I just think that's so cool and special. And I feel very, very lucky to be a part of it.
So how were you approached for that role last year or a year and a half ago?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely like, I went into it just thinking of it kind of like, just like any other project, if that makes sense. Just being like, okay, like this is her story. She has a really rocky relationship with her dad right now, and like she's dealing with wanting to be a cool girl, but she doesn't quite fit in there. And then she realizes she doesn't actually want to be a cool girl, and she gets somebody tries to take advantage of her, and she's like, that's not something I align myself with, and all of those struggles. And I was focusing more on that, and then as as it came around to the end, and all the drama ramps up at the end of season 1. I won't give anything away for anyone who hasn't seen it, I guess. But everything gets kind of crazy at the end. I was filming that last week was when I was really like, wow, okay, like I can't wait to look back at this when it's done and know all that went into it. It was a lot of work, but it was a labor of love by far and away. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you got the phone call, you got the part, how did that make you feel? That you knew you were going to get into something like this.
I literally kept thinking, okay, any day now I'll get the call that it wasn't me. That was just the attitude. I don't know why. It was just like this thought I had, and it wasn't like, I wasn't bitter about it. I was just like, okay, like there are, so many other amazing actresses my age, and like, it's not going to be me, but that's okay. I'm going to go and give it my best shot. And I don't know why I had that whole thought the whole time I was going through it. And then by the time I got to the end and I got that final call that was like, okay, you booked it. Now you need to come in and read with a couple of Miguels. I was like, what? Like, it was just a total pinch me moment. And then what was even cooler was that day, a few hours later, I got a call from Ralph Macchio. And I was like, I just saw this New York number pop up on my phone. I was driving through the Hollywood Hills kind of area. So horrible phone service up there. And I see this call come in and I was like, who could be calling me from New York? And maybe it's my manager, maybe, I don't know. So I pulled over, I answered the call and he was like, hey, it's Ralph Macchio. And I was like, oh my God. And I was panicking. I was like, don't lose service. Stop now. What am I going to do if I lose it? I can't call him back and be like, hey, sorry, it's just me here. I was freaking out, and he was just so kind and, welcomed me. He's like, welcome to the Larusso family. And again, just complete pinch me situation.
So you never met Macchio before that phone call, right? Or did you get a chance to audition with him?
I met him at the last audition.
Okay.
I don't know how. I misread my email, and I didn't see that he was going to be in the room with me when I auditioned. And it was actually him and Billy and William Zabka. They were both in the room. And I did not see that coming. I don't know. I just missed it on the email, whatever. I walk in the door, and I saw him, and I was just like, holy crap, what do I do now? Do I run? Do I just run out the door and leave?
No pressure.
Yeah, but no, he's always been just so incredibly nice and just so fun to be around and to work with, and very I try to learn as much as I can from him. I really look up to him.
So how would you describe Samantha?
I mean, I feel like Samantha's, in a way, she's like every teenage girl. She's like me. I went through a lot of the same things that Samantha went through, but she definitely has this really cool aspect to her that she learned karate and has this badass trait about her, I guess, you know, that a lot of people, I guess, don't have. Me, Mary, I definitely didn't have those skills. But I also feel like she's a person who's struggling with finding who she is and what she wants to align herself with and what she believes in, and all these things that she grew up taking for granted in a way. This relationship she had with her father when she was young, and this kind of cushier life that she had growing up. She realizes that that maybe that isn't so easy for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think she kind of takes that in stride and is trying to figure out okay, well, maybe I fit in better here and not so much with the girls who have everything. And, maybe in my heart, I'm much more in tune with this person who is just about making, memories and having these important experiences. And she's kind of I feel like she's learning as she goes. She's definitely smart. I think she's very smart for her age, both academically, which I think is super cool about her. And then also just emotionally, she's learning a lot for her age. I wish I had known some of these lessons myself.
If Samantha was real, would you be friends with her?
Oh, I would try. I don't know if she would be friends with me because I was, like I said, a total nerd, but I would definitely try. I think she's super cool.
So when you first started filming last year, did you have any background in martial arts, or did you have to do some kind of training for it?
I had no background, and as for training, in season 1, I only learned a couple of direct stunts that I was to perform in those scenes. I only learned the guys were mostly in training, day in and day out almost, I learned a couple of things. And then this year, I definitely got, I was begging all last year. I was like, can Samantha do karate again? Can Samantha do karate again? Like, excuse me, hello, can Samantha? And they were like, okay, all right, just hold on. Hold your horses. And by the time it finally came around, I definitely was just like, I got what I was asking for. I got lots and lots of training this year and got to be in there with the guys and have the whole experience. I learned all kinds of cool, like, new, like, stunt things that I just, again, me, Mary, like, definitely never had those skills growing up. So I'm pretty grateful that I get to say that I feel like I can now stand up for myself, definitely.
Yeah. And from what I see from the trailers, you're training. You're training for season 2.
Yeah, I definitely I got to do a lot of really cool stuff this year.
That's awesome.
That I am incredibly grateful to get to represent, like, this character who is a strong, cool person who's just like, she's learning her lessons and now she's putting them into action and she's learning about balance and all of those things. And I think that's, really cool and very special. And along with it, I got to do some really cool stunt work, which, again, I was very grateful for.
So last year I had a few members from the show on the show also. And how would you describe the chemistry, like, between you and Sholo and, like, Annalisa and even Joe?
I mean, I feel, like I said, just so lucky to work with the people we got to work with. Like, this was the crazy, coolest cast I've ever gotten to be on a show like this with. Like, everybody genuinely got along, and we had an awesome time getting to put all of the pieces together and make this thing happen. And, like, I mean, Sholo and I hung out, like, every single day, and, like, and then, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, I don't know. I feel very lucky that from top to bottom, every person who worked on the whole cast and crew side of this, like, really put their heart into it. And I feel like that was, like, this connecting thread that, brought us all together.
So working with Ralph and Zapka, have they given you, like, pointers or, like, about, like, different opinions, like, in the acting world, like, how to do certain things?
I feel like not so much. I feel like I feel very lucky in the sense that I think they look at us as not as, like, the kid actors, not as the young adult actors, not as, like, somebody who needs to be taught, but rather as people who are collaborating. And I think that's really cool. And I'm very grateful for that they, let us do our thing and find our own ways. But there is also that collaborative effect where there are definitely scenes and times where, it's more emotional or it's more heightened or whatever. And I feel like we can feed off of each other, which has been really cool.
Excellent. So yeah, I met actually Ralph last year and Zapka the year before, and they just seem like they're very, like, down to earth.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the people that you meet, like, that's who they are. They're very, like, very just, like, genuinely cool, incredibly talented, like, people that I feel like that definitely, like, that sets the tone for the whole overall set vibe.
Do you, from season 1, because, we can't spoil season 2, but for season 1, what was your favorite scene that you were on?
The golf and stuff scenes with Sholo were definitely, like, the coolest experience. We were counting down the days. We were nervous about the kiss aspect because we had become, like, such close friends, but we were counting down the days. We were like, oh man, like, golf and stuff, we're going to do this and we're going to play this game. It's going to be so much fun. And, like, we were counting down the days, and then the day rolled around. I had a blast just, like, the whole day filming. I mean, it was literally just, like, them recording me goofing off with, like, a best friend. It was so fun. And then at the end of the day, they were like, all right, time for the kiss scene. And we were like, huh, what? And it just completely blanked about it. And we were like, okay, run around and get some breast drops and whatever else we need to do. It was pretty funny.
How was it, like, doing that whole film that day for the golf and putt? And it's like the exact same scenes were, like, in Karate Kid Part 1.
Oh, it was so cool. So they had it pulled up on their phones. Like, everybody had, like, different clips and images and stuff. So, like, holding the film strip from the photo booth, like, we tried to match the way that the hands were holding. And, the images in the photo booth, we were trying to, like, kind of recreate our own, like, versions and, like, vibes. I feel like the wardrobe kind of, like, spoke to that, at least for, like, Samantha's. And I don't know, I just feel like the whole like the really cool was like the scene of the air hockey, and like they had like a legit, like I think it was like not necessarily the one, but like the legit actual air hockey like machine or whatever that they were playing. And yeah, I mean, it's just like things like that where it was so cool. It was like getting to live out like fan fiction in a way.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's like I said, like I grew up watching the Karate Kid, so just them bringing back Cobra Kai and just the way they did it, you're like, people were worried. They're like, okay, is this going to be good? Is it going to be awful? But I think they nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. I definitely, from a non-biased as I can be perspective, think it's the coolest thing ever. I definitely know that if I were sitting at home, this would definitely be a show I would watch, and the fact that I get to be a part of it just makes it even crazier.
Yeah. Without spoiling for season 2, is there anything you could tell us that we should look forward to?
I think that fans from the original movies will be very happy with all of the, the nuances and the little lines here and there, and even, like things that you wouldn't expect to see are definitely going to come around, which I think is so cool. I can't wait for my boyfriend, who, like I said, is a huge Karate Kid fan, to see it. And then I think, too, for new fans of Cobra Kai, I think it's going to be really cool to see what people think. I really don't want to say too much because I have been biting my tongue for months because I can't wait for people to see this. But I would say keep your eye out for more than a few really cool stunts that I can't wait to tell how it all went down.
Now, has your boyfriend asked you for you to tell him what's going to happen in season 2, and do you already say like, nope, you got to wait to watch it?
Oh no, complete opposite. I come home from work and he's like, "How was your day?" But don't tell me anything. I'm like, Mary's scene, and even in my scenes, he's like, I come out like, "How was it? What'd you think?" And he's like, kind of looking bummed, but like he's trying to be supportive. He's like, "Well, I found out that spoiler about you know who," and I'm like, "Oh crap!" Like, but he's definitely he wants to know nothing about it, which I think is hilarious.
I'm the exact same way. I don't want to know anything because I want to watch it. So
yes.
So on your time off, what do you enjoy doing? I've noticed that you go to Disney World a lot.
Yes, Disneyland actually.
Disneyland.
The one locally here in California.
Yeah.
I am there pretty often. I'm also taking a few college classes that I just, figure out timing wise and do some online and stuff like that. School is really important to me, so even if it takes me forever, I do want to keep pursuing, a degree. And so I'm learning sign language, and I'm in ASL 3 right now.
Oh, wow.
And my major, I think right now for now is English. And so I'm doing that with some of my free time. And then other than that, like I said, working on the YouTube channel I started, like that's been really fun for me to just kind of do whatever comes into my head and make it happen. So that's been really cool. And other than that, trying to catch up on my own TV I'm behind on.
So what's some of your TV shows that you enjoy watching?
I just started The Act, and I'm only like a couple episodes in, but it looks awesome. I was totally not what I was expecting. Like I was expecting it to be really cool and really good, but like it's just like the vibe they created. I feel like it's so unsettling. And then Umbrella Academy. I was a huge My Chemical Romance fan, so I followed Gerard Way and his project Umbrella Academy on Netflix. I've been watching that.
That's awesome. Too. So do you enjoy watching like the shows that you can binge watch, kind of like Cobra Kai, or do you like to wait every week to see a new episode?
I prefer binge watching. I like to sit down on the couch with some snacks and just binge it all in one day, which is I think the plan with my boyfriend and my family to do the day that Cobra Kai comes out.
You're gonna watch all 10 episodes in one day?
That's the plan. We'll see how far we make
awesome.
it.
Do you have any other future upcoming projects that you want to tell the listeners about?
Basically season 2 has been taking up all my time. We just recently finished up post-production and everything. Yeah. So other than that, I'm kind of just waiting and seeing.
There you go. All right. And how can the listeners find you on social media?
Oh, my Instagram is at Miss Mary M. Mauser. And then my Twitter and Facebook are just Mary M. Mauser.
All right, Mary. This was fun. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
On the streets and the pavements are burning. I sit around trying to smile, but the air is so heavy and dry. Strange voices are saying on.